Okay, looks like we're in business. Looks like we're in business. Test, test, test. All right, let me get our friends over here. All right, copy link. Go to this. All right, I'm gonna go over here. Sign in. Okay, good deal. All right. Okay, this is going to work. Had a little problem. I always seem to be having problems. I always have problems when there's going to be a great show. Here we go. Okay. All right. This, that, this. All right. Okay, so we had a bit of a problem. Got a. Oh, I look like a zombie. Okay, so we have a special show today, and it's also we added Twitch and Periscope to our broadcast. Let's see. Oh, there's Marilyn. Okay, so here we go. Sorry, I'm a little bit out of it. I've been up since 6 working, trying to catch up on things. Welcome everybody. We're not using our normal platform, but we are in Zoom, and we are multi-streaming and onto YouTube and our Facebook pages, and also on Twitch and Periscope. It's our first broadcast on Twitch and Periscope. Marilyn, you can hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. All right, we're just waiting for Candace, and then we'll explain everything.
Okay, perfect.
And we're good to go. Wow, man, these issues. Okay, so what we're doing today, we're going to talk about in a minute. I'm half asleep. I've been up since 6. Yeah, so what we're going to do today, hope Candace isn't having a problem, is so this all started because I can't even talk straight. Let me turn on the comments since we're doing it this way. Let me see. Facebook. Turn on Facebook. Turn on YouTube. Let's see. There we go. Yeah. See if she's okay.
Okay. Oh, she sent me a message saying it's telling her invalid meeting ID. I sent it to her again. I feel like it'll go through.
Yeah. She might have to close everything out, and then like reboot, and then try it again.
Okay.
Okay, hang on. Let me just pull up the comments so we can see what's happening. So we've had several people come on the show and refer to BQH and QHHT, and I think there's another one. And so I always wanted to see somebody do a session so that people can actually see what the hell's going on, right? You know, here she comes. Okay. And so Marilyn, who is like a daughter to me, soul daughter, she became a BQH practitioner, and we were talking, and so she introduced us to Candace Carl Goldman. This is who's on the screen here. Let me see if it's all looking good. I'm running on fumes. And Candace was with QHHT, Dolores Cannon, for many, many years, very, very close with her. And she was moved and downloaded to create a remix, or, you know, I don't know what you would call that, but we're going to talk about that for a second. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we have a 3-hour session, partially edited to protect some of the proprietary things involved with BQH and personal things, I would imagine. They were edited out. Leilani from the soulogy team is the client. Marilyn is the practitioner. Today we're going to play about half of it, which is the What is it? What is the part we're playing today?
Like the interview where we're talking,
Yeah.
just like sharing a little bit or sharing a lot about all of our story and all of Leilani's story and experience. And then from there, we'll go into some imagination exercises.
Okay.
And so,
And so when the imagination exercises end, then we're going to cut it off, and then tomorrow, same time, same bat channel, we're going to play the second half, which is the meat and potatoes of the session. Now, I'm not as fluid as I usually am, so let me first welcome you both. Marilyn's been a part of Soulogy, in a very incredible way uh, for quite some time. Candace, you're muted. Uh, you can unmute if you want. Okay. Uh, Candace, we're going to get to know her a little bit, and I'm just going to hand it over to you. So, Candace, you were with Dolores Cannon for many, many years, as you had told me. Worked very closely with her, and then so can you kind of give us a background on how this all came to be?
Sure. Well, I had my own kind of dark night of the soul and a profound spiritual experience in 2008. And after that experience, the very next day was, I still think someday I'm going to maybe create a movie. The day after this experience, life just turned into this amazingly magical thing all day long, this one incredible day. And part of that day was being introduced to Dolores Cannon, who I hadn't known at all. I didn't know who she was until I had this experience. And that day I called up her office and found out about her course. And I ended up there in 2008. But more than that, I ended up being regressed by her. And more than that, very quickly, not only did my own physical problems just vaporize, I started assisting her students more so out of a need for myself. There wasn't a support community available after taking her class, which wasn't even called QHHT back then. It was called Dolores Cannon's method of past life regression. And I did that with her, and I went to every live class, just about. I think I missed a couple in Arkansas from 2008 until her death in fall of 2014. And after she died, I was very, and still am, very interested in protecting her legacy. But her family and I didn't work together the same way that Dolores and I did, and we parted ways. And that was fine with me for a while until I realized that we really needed a new approach that was more flexible, that was more inclusive, certainly one that was able to be done using technology that we're all so familiar and comfortable with today, this technology. I mean, I know we have our challenges with connections sometimes, but so I created something called Beyond Quantum Healing, and it's not a remix at all of QHHT. As a matter of fact, it turns some of what QHHT says, some of its restrictions, on its head, and it does the exact opposite. It is, though, however, based on the primarily understood concept out there of a spiritual regression or a past life regression. It's still based on that framework, on that model, but it has some important differences. Mm-hmm. And it focuses on some important energetic things far more than it focuses on mechanical procedural aspects. It's much different in that regard. And so that's Beyond Quantum Healing. And somebody like Marilyn just fit right in. And she's just such a beautiful soul. And I've fallen in love with her and her work and her energy. And here we are getting ready to watch her facilitate a BQH session.
Stand in line in terms of who loves her. So just to understand, so these, and I think I've heard of another acronym too, that a couple of brothers of mine are facilitators, but a big component, I just, because I'm trying to understand it, that's one of the reasons that I wanted to get a session onto a video production so people could become familiar with it, because they talk about it a lot. But it looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the basic component is the regression, a past life regression. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's basically consciousness exploration. There are a myriad of ways to explore,
of course,
consciousness. Yeah. And there are ways to do it completely, by yourself, solo. And then there are ways where you use a facilitator or a shaman or, all kinds of other things. And so that's what this is. It's with a facilitator who helps you explore your consciousness. And yeah, we use the term regression, but it's really an unfortunate term.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to clear up, because I mean, this is a good point. And I can just speak like from my own experience, working. My wife's a practitioner, energy practitioner, been playing in dimension for 20 years. And so that's how she might refer to it. But, many times when practitioners come on the show, she'll say, we've been doing that for a long time, don't you? And I'll say, well, so the clarification is good, that it's not just past life regression. It could be future incarnation progression. I mean, we can tap into any part of this. I think that's what you're saying, but this is a guided modality that is has some structure to it, as opposed to getting out there. Because I tend to, for instance, if I go solo, and Morgan and I aren't connecting together, I just go out and freestyle. Like, where am I going tonight? Who am I going to tap into tonight? What part of the morphic field, and that type of thing. But so this is a method, a structured method of awakening code in an individual, and increasing their receptivity to really their own conscious awareness. And of course, everything that goes with that, the skills, the abilities, and the higher sensitivities. Is that right?
Sure, that's one way of looking at it. Sometimes it's as simple, though, Todd, as just making or coming to realizations. So many of my clients and people who do this quantum healing work find that their lives change in spectacular ways simply by understanding or coming to realizations, things that were in front of their face for a very long time. And some of these sessions are explorations that are, far on the periphery of places they've already explored before. And for other people, it's a validation of things that they're doing kind of already. It's just all across the map. One of the reasons I love doing this work, I'm so passionate about it still after all these years, is how incredibly diverse the experiences are. Yeah. And the kind of things that can happen in a session. And quite frankly, I know this is going to sound strange, but I just finished teaching a live BQH course. Some of my best stories and most interesting situations come up with clients who either didn't say a word during their session, or never showed up for a session, or had something, interrupt a session, and then still the magic descended upon them in spectacular ways. So I think we only just are beginning, really. We're babies in this realm of consciousness exploration. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so focused on the concept, the very important concept of it being flexible and adaptive to whatever's going on out there, and to follow some really, really strict rules seems kind of 3D kind of thinking to me. Mm-hmm. And I understand people like structure. And I just want to make it very clear that I support in our community at quantumhealers.com. We've supported QHHT practitioners since the beginning, and we still do. And we still love them. And I still love Dolores's work. And it's still an amazing process all on its own. BQH is just something a little different.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that post you put up, I think, yesterday with a picture of her. That was nice. Yeah, this is cool. And I just want to say that there's quite a few people out there like me that aren't into the structure. We just like to freestyle. But it sounds like that there's that flexibility in there, even by the examples that you're giving. I want to just give a shout out to, this is our first time on Twitch and Periscope. I'm Todd Medina with Soulogy Network. And our primary show is Soul Speaks 5D. This is a little bit of a variation from it. It's normally a talk show, a conscious conversation, which is what we're having right now. But in this particular episode, we are going to show a 3-hour, a little bit edited 3-hour BQH session. And today we're going to do half of it, and tomorrow we'll do the other half at the same time. So let's talk to the practitioner real quick, and then kind of conclude it with any closing comments. So Marilyn, I've known you for a while, so I'm cheating, but so getting that out of the mind for a second, how did you come into BQH? What brought you there? And what have your experiences been as a practitioner?
Okay, so in my early 20s, maybe my late teens, we had a family friend who's a chiropractor, and he was always teaching me the modalities he was using. He's highly sensitive and intuitive. And so that was the first person like me that I kind of really knew. He did a past life regression on me when he learned that. And everything I was getting during the session, he was telling me was wrong. And he was telling me what he was getting instead. And so the early 20s is a time where it's really, or what early 20s are like. But anyway, like that really made me doubt myself and my intuition and what I was getting. And it took a lot for me to come to terms with that. And it's something I thought about for a while. And so when I started awakening, I found Candace's radio show. And I felt like she had a radio show with Michelle Walling on N5D. And I loved it. And then I had been watching a lot of QHHT, BQA, or I don't think it was BQA. I've been watching a lot of different sessions like that on YouTube. And so I'm aware of a lot of different modalities. And I chose BQH. I love Dolores Cannon as well. And a lot of people, it's really interesting how a lot of people get introduced to her in their path. But I love BQH because you can bring in your own skills and abilities. Whatever you have going on, BQH, I felt to learn it because it provides a framework to connect with other people. And that's something I felt was, at first I wanted to learn it to assist my family. And then it was like, well, you can actually use this to assist more people that you haven't even met yet. So it's really just being real with people and connecting with them and hearing more about whatever intention they have. Whatever they feel, you can use your gifts and abilities to support them in their intention and whatever healing they're seeking for themselves. So, and also, so BQH works with water, and I have a connection with water. So that's really aligned too. And I love.
Are you a Pisces? Are you a Pisces?
No, I'm a Gemini.
I just wondered because Morgan's a Pisces and you remind me of Morgan. But it sounds like the BQH modality does allow for a little bit of freestyle then, based on what you're telling me.
Yes,
so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So,
and I love, to bring it back around. So I love how the information is coming from the client. So I'm not telling them what I get for them. It's really important for me that it's coming from them, because that's part of their sovereignty, right? Like you don't need anybody telling you what something is for you. You got that from yourself, right?
Yeah. Self-empowering as well.
Yeah.
So, and what has your experience been? When you're conducting a session, are you expanding? Are you getting intel in and downloads and activations as well?
Yeah, everybody who's had a session with me, they've shown me a lot about myself in certain ways. Like it feels like everybody who comes to me I'm assisting them, but they're also assisting me. So it really gets reflected. What I'm learning and growing at the same time as them, it's like really paralleled. So everyone who's come to do a session with me has been super interesting, and it just all feels like really exciting and aligned about like everything that's going on in the world and the collective, and then also within myself and the client. So
wow, far out. Candace, let me ask you a couple questions. So, in your experience with the QHHT and the BQH, have you had any? What am I trying to say? Dimensional experiences, non-physical, typical non-physical experiences with maybe apparitions or some level of physicality, or even if not, where both the practitioner and the client are kind of seeing, feeling the same thing, say on a telepathic level?
Oh my goodness. Yes, of course. And, we've even been, one of the fantastic things about doing some of these sessions online, of course, you can do them in person. But now that so many of them are done using this video interface, we've actually captured incredible visible streams of energy sometimes, rainbow lights, sparkles, beams of light. They're not that common, but they have been captured. And absolutely the same kind of feelings will shift. And often you will hear the clients mentioning something that you're feeling already, and that validation between the two of you about the energy shifts in the room. But of course, now the energy shifts are sometimes, across the planet if you're doing a session with somebody who happens to be on another continent. And it's a really, that really shows the quantum connection that you can have in that way. And some of the ways that this is demonstrated is by animals, sometimes by pets, but sometimes and very often by birds outside of windows and things like that. And I tell a story about when I was just beginning to experiment with this method, doing it online. I experimented for, I think, 18 months before releasing it to the public, because I wanted to make sure you really could do this online, and it was very safe. And quite frankly, what I have found is it's more safe online. And why is that? Because you really do go to those other dimensions, or you can, doing this work. And if you're already home, you don't have to drive anywhere. So even if you've grounded or whatever, you're not getting in a car or whatever like that. So I actually find that it's safer. But back to my experiment, I was in the middle of a healing portion of a session with a woman who was in Utah, I believe. And here I am in Kansas, a crazy windy day, winds 50, 60 miles an hour gusts. My house was whistling, the wind through the windows. And when the healing was at its deepest and most profoundly connected with the client, and I'm feeling it in my body like this, and she's describing it, what it feels like to her right there, I watched as the wind around my house completely went away. Now, across my pasture, I could see that the trees were still doing like this. And out my front window, they were still going like this. And right around my house, I had some Tibetan flags and some other things. Dead calm around my house, dead calm. The energy was just so profound and so intense. And that's when I really, really knew how it just didn't matter that this person was in a different state that I was. She was feeling it. I was looking around at what was actually happening to my house during that time. The whistling stopped. The windows quit doing this. And then when we came out of that healing portion, it just started back up again. And then the wind was crazy when we finished the session, but it was several minutes of complete calm around my house. I was in this like bubble.
You can't make this shift up.
No, you can't.
You can't, no doubt. So yeah, very cool. I'm anxious to view it. I didn't cheat, so I just kind of skimmed through it to make sure that the thing was going to be suitable and aligned with what we're doing today. Marilyn, is there anything that you want to lead with or conclude with before we turn this thing on?
I can go ahead and share, because everybody, when they do a session, they create an intention for what they want their session to be about. And so for Leilani, I'll go ahead and share, because she knew this was going into her session. She knew this was going to be aired. So she kept that in mind and in her heart whenever she created her intention. And I'll go ahead and read it. Okay. Her intention is to create a sustainable, harmonic frequency of peace and love throughout herself and the collective. And so I was feeling, it happened during her session. I felt that and I saw that ripple out, and then airing it, who knows? Well, yeah, I hope everybody feels that within them too,
All right. And then before we get into it, there's, I guess, segments. And can you just kind of restate the segments? I know some of it, or the final segment will be tomorrow. I think that's one in and of itself, but what basically is it consisting of?
So at first, it's an interview. So we're going to be getting to know Leilani and knowing about like her personal family experiences, her trauma, what she's been through really in this life. And then that sets you up for the context. Well, that sets the client and the practitioner up to get to know each other for the session, to support each other. But that'll set the viewers up for the context of understanding where she's coming from and the significance of her session. And then after that, today, we're going to also show the imagination exercises, which is like getting ready for the induction part of the session. And the imagination exercises are where we just do some fun little exercises to connect, to show the client what it's going to be like when they're under. And also like, it gives some clues to what's going to happen that are really interesting. So the imagination is the language of the higher self. So it's really interesting what comes through during that part, and Leilani's is no exception to that. So we'll go ahead and conclude with the imagination exercises, and then pick up tomorrow whenever after the induction part of the session. Yeah.
Sounds good. Candace, you got any parting comments before we jump into this thing?
Just that I'm wondering about all the different lives that Marilyn must have had to become so even, calm, and wise in that young physical form she has. I'm just so astonished and tickled at how she's just taken to this, and how others have. I'm just very blessed, and thank you, Todd, for this opportunity.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing this, and I want to say thank you to Leilani for stepping up, and because it's a personal thing, I would think. But yeah, I'm excited. So we're gonna jump on this thing. We're not using our regular platform, and so there won't be comments. But I don't think we need comments on this anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the session now. I'll be here monitoring it and watching. On my page on Facebook, and then on the YouTube page as well, just to see what's going on and pick up some comments, and maybe we'll have some questions and such for you guys tomorrow when we meet back up again. So let me go ahead and turn that on. Thank you for both for coming in, and I'll be watching this. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I'll be watching this from my seat here. Let me just get it ready. Okay, here we go.
Hey.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
So, did you want me to call you Leilani or Monique?
No, I hadn't really thought about that. No, Leilani seems all right. Yeah.
Leilani?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We'll
How do you pronounce your last name?
Schoberg.
Schoberg. So Leilani Schoberg.
Yep. Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm glad we have this opportunity to connect more today and do this together.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Awesome. So you've been helping Todd out with soulogy?
Yeah. So I do like the scheduling for the programs for Soul Speaks 5D.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I have a few questions just to get us started. So have you ever had a Beyond Quantum Healing session before?
No,
Have you ever watched any videos on YouTube about it?
not for Beyond Quantum Healing. I have on, who was it? Who's that lady?
Was it Alba Weinman?
Yes, that's her. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a lot of her videos too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Have you ever done any other types of past life regressions or anything like that?
not officially. Like I do my own process when I go into process, but they're not actually structured. It's more free flowing. Yep.
Oh, cool. Awesome. So I guess we'll just dive right into it. We're going to start with some family questions.
Mm-hmm.
So just please give me a brief history of your early life, like how you grew up, how you were raised.
Yep. Okay, so this is where it gets kind of interesting. Well, not really that interesting. So I was adopted. So I was adopted into my adoption family at 3 weeks of age, and grew up with a mother, father, and my elder sister, a brother, and then another brother who was adopted, and then myself. So that's kind of my family structure. And yeah, you know, we all think our childhood is normal until we find out that it's not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was a fairly happy child. Spent a lot of time in fantasy. Played a lot of sports. Started calisthenics when I was 2 years of age and did that for 10 years. Then I played netball. I don't even know how old I was when I started that. It's not important. Then moved on to softball, played softball for quite a long time until I was 18. Then I discovered partying and all sports went out the window and just enjoyed the party life. So, yeah, we used to go on a lot of family holidays. Dad was a bit of a workaholic, so he would be at work pretty much from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed. And then weekends, Sundays, we'd always go on a family drive. All 6 of us piled into the car and we'd drive around the Adelaide Hills or wherever we were going. And so that was our Sunday, was always a family drive. That was our family time. Probably more in my teenage years. The family became a little dysfunctional. Lots of arguments, lots of fighting, lots of screaming. That's kind of what I remember. And so I just played my sports. All of my focus and attention went into my sport. Yeah, that's what I tell you.
I was a softball player too.
Were you? Yeah,
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved it. My daughter played softball too. So, yeah. Is there anything else? Is there anything I might have glossed over that you want to know deeper into?
We have some more questions that we can go further into.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the story of you?
Wow. I didn't even know there was a me until probably the last 5 years. So the story of me was pretty much satisfying other people, and Yeah. Um, yeah, that's probably about it. I was, from a very young age, I served others. I didn't have a sense of self, and my whole sense of self was what others had assigned to me. So yeah, that's probably where I've been most of my life. And then the last 5 to 10 years has really been concentrating on me and developing that sense of self and what makes me happy, what I believe, and all of that sort of thing.
So what does make you happy? What do you enjoy doing with your free time?
So I enjoy having conversations with people and learning about essentially the human condition. So yeah, that's really what lights me up is having deep conversations, and sharing a deep part of yourself with another person, and that person sharing that deep part of themselves with you, and that's what lights me up. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Did you have any religious training? Did your family go to church or anything like that?
No, when I was very young, my next brother up, the one who was adopted as well, and we every Sunday we had to go to Sunday school. So we'd ride our bikes over there. Although my parents weren't religious and I wasn't baptised under any religion, I think it was just with 4 kids in the house, it was to give them a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
So we worked out pretty quickly that no one was checking on us, so we used to go to the playground.
Oh,
so
yes.
We did actually end up going to Sunday school very often.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what kind of relationship would you call them your mother and father or your adopted mother and father?
No, they're my mum and dad, yeah. Yeah.
What kind of relationship did they have with each other and with
There was a lot of miscommunication of sit down and it was always, as I said, my with 4 children.
Oh, it's cutting out.
Oh no. Hang on. All right. Are we good now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. As I said, my dad was a workaholic, so he was at work quite a bit. And it seemed for disproportionate the amount of time he worked to the amount of financial security that we had always seemed disproportionate, and mum always seemed to be struggling with money. So it caused a lot of fights and arguments. And that's the majority of what I remember. My mum always had a really strong friend network. So she relied on her relationship fulfillment from her friends, not from a partner in marriage. And Dad found it very, very difficult to speak his emotions, to convey his emotions. So he would just, build up walls and sink himself further into his work. And then when we went on family holidays, it was generally Dad would drop us off in the caravan and he'd go down to work. And then on the weekends, he would come back and spend the weekends wherever we were holidaying. So yeah, we were a busy family. We were very busy. I played a lot of sport. My eldest brother played a lot of sport. My elder sister is disabled. So there was a lot of activities for her. And yeah, so it was very busy. There were people going all directions. So there wasn't actually a lot of unity. However, my relationship with my parents is I was one of the golden children. I was the baby that they'd wanted. And I was the youngest of 4, so I got thoroughly spoilt. And I can't actually remember being reprimanded or grounded or seriously told off. I got away with far too much. Yeah. So, yeah, in a nutshell, that's kind of that.
Awesome. So you're the youngest sibling, and then you have your oldest sister, you said is disabled, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have an adopted brother who's a little bit older than you?
I have two brothers, one, my sister and the next brother. So in order of age, my sister and then my next brother were both my parents' natural born children.
Mm-hmm.
And then my next brother and myself were both adopted.
Awesome. What kind of relationship do you have with your siblings?
Yeah, that was a big pause. I didn't mean that. So my next brother up, the one who was adopted, and I, we became close. We ended up sharing a house once we moved out of our parents' home and things like that, and we were quite close for a lot of years, but had a bit of a falling out, and we no longer communicate and haven't done for quite a lot of years. So well over a decade since we've communicated. My next brother up, so my parents' natural born child, he lives in a different state, but we speak on the phone quite frequently. Well, every month or two. But yeah, I'd say, we get along quite well. We respect where each other's at in life and try and offer our support without interfering. And then my sister who's disabled, we have a good relationship. We don't see each other a lot. I live a few hours away. But yeah, there's never been any harsh words or animosity or anything like that. She's a human angel, and I'm getting teary, is really one of the most beautiful people. So yeah.
Are you still in communication with your mom and dad?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't see them a lot, but we speak on the phone every 2 or 3 weeks, and yeah, they're getting old now, so.
Awesome. So you have a daughter, you said?
I do. I have a daughter and a son. So my daughter's 21 and my son's 18. And at the moment, they're both at home. My daughter was living down in the city, but she's come home for a little while. And yeah, my son's just finishing high school. It's his last year of high school.
Oh, wow.
And I'm married and have been for nearly 20 years.
Awesome.
Yeah. So probably to fill in a gap, 10 years ago, I met my birth mother.
Mm-hmm.
So I began a relationship with her 10 years ago. And then a couple of years after that, my birth father's family contacted me. So I'm in communication with them as well. So now I have this big extended family.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, which has been quite interesting. So, yeah.
Yeah. I've never actually met my birth father, but we started communicating about 10 years ago too.
Right.
So is your birth father still living, or?
No, he passed over when I would have been about 3 years old.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's his sister who contacted me. And yeah, so I've met, she's got daughter and a son, and then my grandmother as well.
Did you feel to seek them out or to find out who your birth mother was?
Yes. Yeah, I took action there. So I'd actually had her name since I was 18 and then never took any action for 20 years. And then, decided I would write her a letter. And it was probably received a little bit better than I anticipated it would have been. But yeah, she was very happy that I'd contacted her.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
So you live with your husband, your daughter, and your son right now? Is there anybody else?
No, just a dog and a cat.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
What kind of dog do you have?
He's an American Staffordshire crossed with an English Staffordshire. And then my cat is a Bengal cat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So who was the person you could count on most when you were growing up?
When I was growing up, I guess it would have been my mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what kind of kid were you in school?
I just kind of cruised through. Yeah, I never got into trouble. Everyone liked me, but I never really had that one friend. I was kind of friends with everyone. Got good grades up until, I was probably 13, 14 in high school. Then it all changed. Then I became a bit rebellious and started ditching a lot of school and not going to classes and things like that. And my grades started slipping until I eventually left school. But yeah, right up until probably about 13 years of age, I was a good student. Yeah.
What do you feel changed to make you feel like rebellious and not want to be at school?
Yeah, I guess that's a really good question. Yeah, I don't know exactly what. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I stopped being quite so compliant and complicit and started realizing that I don't want to do what everyone else wants me to do all the time. I just want to go out and have some fun. And having fun was what it was all about. It wasn't about getting into trouble or anything. It was just hanging out with my friends and having fun. And yeah, I guess really trying to find where I kind of fit in the social structure of things. And yeah, I think that's kind of what it was about.
Do you know what the cause of your father's death was? Your birth son?
It was a car accident. He was a passenger in a vehicle. Yeah, and he was almost home. He was coming home from a bucks night where he was going to be the best man, and the wedding was the following week. And yeah, they had an accident and hit a pole, and he was killed instantly. Yeah.
So that's all the family questions. And now we're going to move into some personal questions.
Rightio, far away.
Okay. So what kind of work do you do, and do you enjoy your work?
Okay. Up until probably 5 or 6 weeks ago, I was doing mineral exploration. And I enjoy it and I don't enjoy it at the same time. So I work away from home. And so depends what contract I'm at. I'm away anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks, and then home usually for a week. So that's really quite difficult, just being away. It's very demanding work. So I was in specialist operations and working for contracting to a big mining company. So there's a lot of controls, a lot of rules, and I was the one who kind of had to enforce those rules, and I'm not very good at that. But there's a lot of other skills that I brought to the job, which made it really enjoyable. And I got to see some absolutely beautiful countryside throughout Australia. So a lot of perks to the job. But yeah, I found now is a time I really need to be with my family. And fortunately, due to COVID, things have kind of died down in that industry. And so I've managed to have a little bit of time off. So that's where I've been, and where I'm going. I guess, so about 5 years ago, I did a course called Transpersonal Counselling. And so since then, I've kind of been reforming myself and rebuilding myself, dismantling and then rebuilding my belief systems and things like that. And yeah, I know I'm heading towards a different direction, but I haven't broken into that direction yet. So that's still to come. But yeah, there's definitely a direction I'm going in.
Awesome. So what is transpersonal? What is it? Transpersonal what?
Transpersonal counselling.
Counseling. Yeah, what is that?
So it's a form of counselling that uses a lot of meditative and hypnotic sort of processes. And the idea of transpersonal is to go beyond the self, so beyond the ego. So that's why we use a lot of those processes to bypass the human ego and go directly into the unconscious, and then bring the unconscious into the consciousness.
Oh, wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
What made you want to learn that?
It was really interesting the way it came about. I kind of, So I was seeing this wonderful practitioner that my mum had put me onto, and she was an integrative practitioner. And I said to her, I'm looking for a change of direction. And I'd done a little bit of study and I was looking to do some more study. And she said, I know of this wonderful course called Transpersonal Counselling. I think you'd be great for it. So she handed me a flyer, and they were having an open day the following week. So I'm quite impulsive. So I went along and I thought, yeah, this is great. So I signed up. I really had no idea what I was going into. I was, it was blind faith, pretty much. And, it all worked out for the better, and I've met some wonderful people and found a path and a direction that I knew I was missing, but I didn't know what it was before. So, yeah, it was really, really valuable. So, yeah, it was just this happen chance comment from my practitioner that I've just, dived down the rabbit hole, basically.
Awesome. That sounds cool. So have you done any sessions for people yet with the transpersonal counseling?
I did. Before I started working away, so I've only been working away really for the past 2 years. And I was building up a nice little client base, but then I couldn't sustain the travel and working away with clients, because at that point I was away for 3 weeks and home for 1 week, and it just took me too long to actually clear my own field to be able to work with clients, and just kind of petered out. So I'm just trying to reset and recalibrate and work out I know that's the right kind of direction, but
Mhm.
not exactly. So I'm redefining.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, I already asked you this question. What do you do with most of your time? Do you feel like answering any more about that?
Yeah, yeah. I guess at the moment, a fair bit of my time is going into my family. You know, having us all back in the one house for the first time in a number of years. Yeah, a lot of time is going to my family, and then the other time is more my spiritual pursuits, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. That word just doesn't sound like it fits properly. But I do quite a bit of journeying. So I go into an altered state, into what I would call a meditative state, and I journey. So I probably do that 3 days a week, and just journey into wherever I need to go, or wherever I'm guided to go. So, yeah, that's probably how I spend most of my time.
Cool. So you meditate regularly, you said about 3 times a week?
Yeah. Yeah. I used to have a daily practice, and I'd like meditate morning and night, and then that kind of fell away. And now I have a session, so I do a little ritual and prepare my room and prepare myself, and then lay down and go into a meditative state. And so I go a lot deeper. I'm not doing it as often, but I go a lot deeper, and it's a lot longer time period. So it might be, you know, anywhere from an hour up to 3 to 4 hours. So yeah, it's kind of changed. It evolved.
Do you still your mind regularly?
Yeah, I do. I do. Um, yeah, I'm really lucky. I live in like a little forest. So I frequently, because it's winter at the moment, it's cold outside, I frequently will just sit in a chair and just look out the window at the trees, and everything disappears. And so it's really easy to still my mind when I've got these beautiful ancient trees.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
beautiful.
our ancestors living outside my window.
Cool. So what kind of work would you do if it could pay the bills?
I would connect with people.
Yeah.
That's like my dream. That's like my dream, is to clear my field and go into a connection with someone, and take a journey with them, and come back with whatever medicine or wisdom is required in that collaboration at that time. And that would be my dream way to pay my bills.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Are you able to daydream?
You'd think that would be an easy question to answer, but it's not. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Daydream, it just, when I hear the word daydream, it brings up, you know, like takes me back to being in school, where you'd always have the kid who was the dreamer and would get in trouble for daydreaming all the time. So it kind of instantly it brought up that negative connotation in me. But I do. I allow my mind to wander wherever it needs to go, and I do it as frequently as I can. So I guess that's daydreaming.
Yeah, it is. Just imagining. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I wander off. I disappear. And sometimes someone can be talking to me, and I'll just, follow that and see where it goes. And it's like, no, I've got to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I do. Yeah.
So do you have any current religious or spiritual practices?
Not specifically. I don't follow any form of doctrine, whether it be religious or spiritual. It's purely self-guidance. And wherever I feel guided to go, like I've got a room full of feathers and little wooden bits and little gemmy bits and things, and sometimes I'm just intuitively guided to set up little formations or you know, lay out some feathers with a candle or whatever. So yeah, it's all just intuitively guided.
Do you remember your dreams?
Very rarely, very, very rarely. When I do, they're usually quite. I'm always amazed and surprised when I wake up with a dream, and I when I was studying, when I was doing the counselling course, we had to keep a dream journal because we had a whole module that was based on dreams. And I really struggled with it. But I did notice the more I recorded my dreams, the better my recollection got. But I haven't remembered a dream for probably 4 to 6 months. Yeah. So when I do, it's sort of like I try to hold on to it. But at this point in time, I couldn't remember any dreams that I've ever had.
You can't recall right now?
No, I couldn't. I could not tell you one. Yeah. So, yeah, no dreaming for me. I'm sure I do, but I just don't bring it back with me.
Yeah. So how's your health? Do you have any concerns?
No major concerns. I've been what's the word I'm looking for? I can't find it. Lethargic. I've been very lethargic for the last probably 4 weeks. But I'm not worried about it because I have been working away for the last couple of years, and I've been working really hard, and it's a time for me to stop and you know, lay down and read a book or have a nap or whatever I want. I've been forcing myself to go for a walk every day for the past few days in preparation for our session, and it's been wonderful. I just go down the lake and take a walk, and it's perfect. So I need to make that part of my daily practice, is going for a walk. But yeah, there is one question in one of the questions that I sent to you.
Yes, I read that one about your right.
Yeah, and that's probably the right side of my body. It's old injuries from softball, like my shoulder. It's just discomfort. Like there's not essentially pain or anything like that, but yeah, my right hip has been bothering me for quite some time, and so yeah, I'd like to ask deeper questions into that.
So, how long has your hip been hurting? Or it's not a pain, you said it's a discomfort, right?
Yeah. How long? It's hard to say when I first started noticing it. I have a really high pain threshold. So I kind of push through it and I numb it. You know, it's like I disassociate it. So it's probably been with me for quite a few years, but really only in my field for about 12 months. Consciously aware of it. It's kind of there every day. And like intuitively, I'm guided that it could be related to my ovary on that right side. So yeah, I don't know how far you want to go into that. or save it for the session.
So, what position did you play when you played softball?
Catcher.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're always having to squat down there?
Yeah. Squat and jump.
Yeah, I never did. That was always such an intimidating position for me, because it's, you're right there. You're having to
Yeah, you're right up close to that bat. That bat swings just above your head. Yeah, I loved it. So that's why my right arm, my right shoulder, is a little bit tender, because throwing to second base is quite a big throw. And then I actually went back and played softball after I turned 40, when my daughter was playing.
Yeah.
And I was playing third base. So then I was throwing from third over to first to try and get that out. And that's when my shoulder troubles really started. But since I stopped playing softball, it's kind of settled down a little bit. But I quickly realised I'm not as young as I used to be.
Yeah.
Because I thought I could still play at the level that I was playing before. No, that didn't happen.
Yeah, I've thought about joining an adult softball league maybe sometime. Especially, I would love to be I have a 4-year-old daughter, and I feel like it would be so awesome to be her coach or her team's coach someday.
Yeah, what position did you used to play?
Outfield, so lots of throwing. I've injured my elbow with all that throwing, but it's better now. Yeah. And I have still scars from sliding,
Oh, yeah. Got some stories.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So, did you have something else you wanted to share about that?
No, I'm good.
Have you noticed any, because you said it was maybe you were feeling about your right ovary connection. So have you noticed anything going on with your reproductive system and your reproductive health?
Yeah. I guess, if there is an area of health concern for me, that's it at the moment. But I'm also at that age where I'm going through some physical changes and some changes in life, and my reproductive system is starting to move into the next phase. So, I know there's a lot of changes. So I try not to move into fear around them. I'm a bit stubborn. I don't go to the doctor. I like to, as I said, journey, and I journey into my body quite a bit, and I ask questions of my body and travel through my cells and things like that, and try and work it out myself. But this is something I haven't been able to shift. So I thought, I'd bring it into our session and see if I could find out a little bit more.
Awesome. So you mentioned it was you kind of have a tendency to numb or dissociate from it. How do you numb? How do you numb out from it?
See, this is where I struggle putting things into words. Okay, so a visual that comes to me that I tend to do is I'll pack it into a box. So I kind of separate that part of my body and put it into a box, and if it's in the box, then it's kind of tucked away and is not part of my conscious awareness. So I think that's the best way I can describe it. It's really hard to put into words. But so I guess it's like compartmentalizing. But instead of doing it with the psyche, I do it with my physical body.
So it's just an energetic numbing or dissociating. Do you use anything physically to assist you with it?
No.
So, what are you doing, thinking, or feeling in your daily life that you wish to change?
That I wish to change. Okay. I'm easily distracted. And so I get distracted from like my own path by caring for others generally. So a big part of that is my family. And so I'd like to be a bit more disciplined with myself as prioritising myself and my inner work, so that there's more balance. There's more balance between my own inner work and self-care and my outer reality. So I can be present, fully present, for the people around me, but also for myself.
I feel that a lot within my life too. It's like I have to fill myself up first so that way I can pour more into others.
Yeah. 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 It's, it sounds really simple.
It sounds simple, but doing it is a whole other story, right?
Yeah. And I feel a lot of that for me is also, I've brought that through my life from childhood is, and possibly before this lifetime. It's been with me. So yeah, there's still hidden mysteries and still gold that I haven't unwrapped within myself.
What do you spend the majority of your day thinking about?
That's another hard question. I try not to think. I don't. Yeah.
What do you do instead of think? What do you try to do?
Be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really hard. It's really hard. I don't actually know if I can answer that.
Okay.
Well, I mean, at the moment, my family is a big part of my focus. So, I'm just really trying to be present. I'm trying not to think. I'm trying not to be in the future or the past. I'm just trying to be here and now, because I think that's where I'm of the, best service. So,
Definitely.
yeah, I know I do slip. I know I do go into those thinking times, and usually it's about, whatever's troubling me. If there's been a big change or whatever seems to be troubling me at that time. Yeah.
Is there any past trauma or abuse in your life?
Yes. So this is where it's, yeah. Do I have to go into it?
You don't have to. If you feel to, we can.
Yeah. Look, I really want to be transparent. I don't want to hide anything, especially when, I'm here to push past some limitations that I've got. So, yeah, I was molested by my brother. From what I recall, around about the 8 to 10 years of age. My memory's really sketchy. I had completely blocked this out until I started the counselling course and he approached me. So and then throughout like my teenage, young adult years, there was a lot of sexual trauma. A lot of it brought on by myself, in promiscuous behaviour. I became an alcoholic, and I was an alcoholic for a lot of years, and I was a blackout drunk. So my body would still be functioning and I'd still be talking and everything, but I have no recollection of some things that went on. And over the past 5 to 10 years, I've been getting a lot of those memories back. And so it's like I've been reliving the trauma of what I didn't actually experience before. So yeah, I was raped. I've had miscarriages. I've had abortions. A lot of sexual trauma, and a lot of it, as I said, brought about by myself and in my own way of self-analysis. I believe a lot of that is to do with repressed memories and repressed pain. As I said, I had no recollection of my brother molesting me until he brought it up with me. And then I think I tried to recreate sexual experiences that would cause me pain to try and rationalise why I was hurting. So, yeah.
Which was it, your adopted brother or the biological brother? The
biological.
The one that you're still in contact with?
Yep.
So he felt to come to you and share what had happened?
Yeah. We didn't talk about it a lot, but he basically, said, I'm sorry for what I did, and I just, it was a lot for me to take in at that moment. So I just kind of said, yeah, that's okay. We were kids, we're kids just being kids. And then the gravity of it really didn't hit me until later, because I started getting the memories back. And then there's still memories that I don't have, that you have that feeling, you know that there's something that you don't fully have. Yeah. And it can drive you mad. It can drive you completely mad. Repressed memories. So that's something I'm wanting to bring into the session today as well, is releasing those memories I don't quite have, so that I can get better recall of the memories that I do want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were 8 to 10.
From what I remember, yep.
So when your brother mentioned that to you, did you have any idea what he was talking about until then, or did you kind of didn't remember until he brought it up?
Look, there's been moments where you get flashes, but it's really hard to differentiate between fantasy and reality. So when you've got repressed memories, or when you've got hidden memories, you don't believe yourself. You just think that's fantasy. And it's not until someone else actually says, I did this, or we did this, or this happened, that you start believing yourself. And so, a big part of my difficulties in life have been believing what I think, see, feel, and I don't know where else to go with that.
Yeah. So I can relate a lot to you because I wasn't raped, but I was sexually abused. It is considered sexual abuse, and I felt it could have escalated further. And yeah, that really affected me. That's whenever I quit softball. That's when I started partying. I also used to be an alcoholic and blacked out a lot. Yeah. It's been a while, since I have been able to break through on not drinking anymore. And let's see, yeah, while I was drinking, I felt like me kind of putting myself out there sexually was a lot for me, at least, taking my power back and like knowing that something had, like somebody had kind of like brought that experience in for me before it was my choice. So then it was like me doing that. It was my choice. However, it wasn't always in the best interest of me, the ways that I went there. And I really relate a lot too about like blacking out and getting yourself into situations that you might typically not, or would typically not do if you were sober. So, are you still able to drink every now and then, or what's your relationship with alcohol now?
Yeah, I stopped drinking alcohol completely in 2014.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't drink at all. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's been I'm really proud of myself for it, because it was such a destructive force in my life. And it's funny because people say, oh, no, you don't have a problem with alcohol.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Are you blind? You're trying to tell me that I don't have a problem with alcohol, and yet I know what I've been through, but other people didn't see it. I kept it really well hidden. Fortunately, I was a high functioning alcoholic, and I didn't drink every day, but when I did, I would drink to excess, usually till the point where my body just couldn't cope anymore and I'd pass out. So yeah, it was very, very destructive. Yeah. And I guess I see it as self-punishment. I see it as punishing myself for what I didn't know. But maybe the fact that no one was ever punished, that I was never punished, that, I do feel, my family don't know this. My family don't know any of this, as in my mother and father. As far as I know, they have no idea what went on. But then there's a little part of me that says, no, the secret was kept from me. Maybe everyone else knew and it was kept secret from me. But yeah, it's sort of like at this point in time, I'm not willing to open that with my family. My parents are aging, they're getting quite elderly now. And I honestly, I don't see any benefit in bringing this in the open to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me to be doing this here, knowing that it could potentially be broadcast out throughout the soulogy community is a big thing. But I'm totally ready for this. I'm sick of hiding, and I'm sick of carrying that shame of my past. And so this is my way to cleanse and bring people in on my journey. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the next question is, are there things in your life about which you have a great deal of judgment or shame?
think we just went there.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you know, throughout my teenage and probably young adult life, it was probably my promiscuity brought me the most shame, and that's because I didn't understand being sexualized at a young age. It does bring about a certain amount of promiscuity. Maybe not for everyone, but in me it did. This was the way I re-manifested everything, because I'd kind of blocked out what actually went on. And so I was really clever in recreating it in a lot of different ways. So yeah, that's probably where my shame is mostly located.
Did you ever, was alcohol your main drug your main drug that you use, or did you ever have any other addictions or substance abuse?
Look, I did recreationally used a lot of other drugs, but I wouldn't say I ever had an addiction to any of them. Alcohol was my biggie. That's the one I had the problem with. Everything else I could stop or start at will.
Yeah.
But yeah, alcohol just had it had a grip on me. Yeah.
I know what that's like. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations on breaking through again. I know it's so not easy.
Look, remarkably it was. I just woke up one day and I said, you know what, I don't want to feel like that anymore. I don't want to be that anymore. I'm not going to drink. And I haven't since. I was just so ready for it. And I knew that I could not continue and become the person that I wanted to be if I kept drinking. And so I wanted to be me more than I wanted alcohol, which made it easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you haven't shared with me that you feel may be important for our work today?
So when I met my birth mum, I found out I had a half sister, and her name was Amy. And a couple of years before, I made contact with them, Amy had a massive brain bleed and had suffered extensive brain damage and was in a locked-in state. So she was completely incapacitated. So when I met her, she was in this state. And we had 2 years before she passed away. I didn't see her many times because it was difficult. We lived at opposite ends of the city. But she was a really, really big influence in my awakening journey. And the communication, although she couldn't speak, the communication we had was completely off the charts, like nothing I would ever imagine was possible. So yeah, we're still very strongly connected. And so yeah, she's been a very, very big influence in my awakening journey. So yeah, I just thought I should tell you about her briefly.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
do you feel like it's a telepathic communication that you guys
Yeah, very much so. From the very first moment I met her, it was just like this intense communication. I was very much asleep then. So this is going back 10 years. And I would consider that I didn't begin waking up until 5 years ago. So we had this very intense communication that I didn't actually fully understand at the time. But I believe it was her that called me into their lives. I believe I believe she became this super consciousness because her mind, her consciousness was still functioning. She was still there consciously, just her body had completely shut down. So she just traveled the ethers and became this amazing consciousness that I had the absolute pleasure of connecting with. So yeah. I don't know what else to tell you without going too far. Yeah.
So I have your list of questions. Do you have to go to the restroom or anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay, cool. Just let me know if you have to, and we can just go ahead.
Yeah.
So now that's all the personal questions, and now the next section is about paranormal questions.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have any unexplained or mysterious events?
Yep. Yep. I say yes, but it's not really. They're not really unexplained. I don't know. I don't know. Life is paranormal.
Right? Yeah.
You know, like our spectrum of sight is so narrow and limited. Here's a little story. So one night I woke up in the middle of the night and didn't want to disturb my husband and wanted to come in and like go into a meditative state. So I came into my little meditation room office. I'd been down, made myself a cup of tea, came back upstairs, and my cat came upstairs and was meowing at the door of my office. Now, there was no lights on. I wasn't moving. I was laying dead still. But she knew I was in this room. And because she's meowing right at the door. And I was like, how did she know I was here? And so she let me see. She let me see how she knew I was here. So when I went downstairs and then came back up and came back into this room, I left an energy trail that she could see. And so she let me see it through her eyes. And it was like this really pale neon blue energy trail up the stairs and into this room. And I'm like seeing it from the cat's eyes. And that's how she knew exactly where I was. And that's how she knows at all times exactly where I am. And it just blew my mind. And it was just so real. It was so real. And it's sort of like, yeah, okay, I understand that cats see a different spectrum to what we do. And it reminded me of that film Avatar. Just that colour, that neon blue of the flowers and the energy that they see. Yeah, so I guess that's one little paranormal thing. Then you've got my sister, who you know zapped me with consciousness. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't seem out of the ordinary to me. So it doesn't. Yeah. Yeah. And I guess, I have those friends that I talk about these things with, and it's normal to them as well. So it doesn't kind of seem out of the ordinary. Yeah.
So whenever your cat showed you that, was that the first time that you have experienced communication with an animal?
No. No. One of the jobs I did was on a cattle station, and there was a young calf that had gotten caught in this really muddy water from the drilling program, and they'd managed to get it out, but it wasn't well. And so I went and sat with this cow while it passed over, and just the journey that I had with that cow was amazing. And just this sharing of love that we had together. And she was just so grateful that she wasn't alone in that time. And so, yeah, just these little things just keep happening. You know, like I was down at the lake yesterday and I was just laying down on the sand, and whenever I'm down the lake, the birds come. You know, I love the kites, and the kites will come and I'll hear them whistling, and then they'll catch my attention, and all of a sudden there's 3 of them there. And it's just sort of like, yeah, I have a real affinity with birds. It's like I can't translate that into human language, but I know that I do connect with animals. And, yeah, probably sometimes I choose to ignore it, and I probably shouldn't. But, yeah, I do know that I do connect. It's never been quite as vivid as what it was with my cat, though. That was something new, and it hasn't happened again since then.
What kind of birds did you see yesterday?
Oh, I wish I knew what they all were. So there was the 3 kites. There was a couple of pelicans. There was a couple of little grass parrots. Then there was some pigeons, and there were some ducks. And they were beautiful ducks. They had this beautiful, like, tan bronze and then a green band around their neck. They were just gorgeous. I think they're swallows. Yeah, I think that was about all of them. And they all come across at different times. And then I just watch the kites leave on the thermal. And yeah, it's just like they make themselves known. They draw my attention so that I know they're there, and then I can just observe and I kind of journey with them. It's like I was riding the thermal with those kites. It was just
that is beautiful. Do you have a favorite type of bird, or type of bird that you see or notice a lot lately?
Yeah, it'd have to be the whistling kite. The whistling kite. It's like whenever we go camping down at the creek or the river or whatever, it's like, yeah, I always hear them. Fortunately they're very prolific in my region, and so I always spot them. I'll be driving and it's sort of like, oh no, eyes on the road. And I hear them all the time. It's like Just be inside the house and I'll hear one and I have to go outside. And it's just sort of like, oh, here's my little messenger. And it's just sort of like I just observe them until they're gone. But it's like they're just passing through saying hello. But yeah, I just notice them all the time. Yeah.
Have you ever had any missing time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, loads of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, quite frequently when I drive into the city. So it's a 3-hour drive, and sometimes I'm there, and it's just like, how did I get here? And it frequently happens when I drive.
Yeah.
Frequently. Like, I know I'm not a danger. I know my body's still present and there's still present awareness. But yeah, just the time disappears. It's like you go into a wormhole and you drive out the other side and you're at your destination. Yeah.
Cool. Any strange communications or mysteries other than the ones you've shared about?
I don't call it strange.
Yeah.
But when I go into process, I'll often open myself up. Like I do. Part of my setting up to go into process is I seal the room, and I have little things that I just say, within myself, little protections to ensure that it's only benevolent beings that come through in contact. And then I'll go into process and I'll open myself up. And so I have other consciousnesses or I don't, coming through me. And sometimes I feel that I connect with people and have a conversation, and it might be brief, it might be long. Sometimes they're people I know, sometimes they're not. I don't usually speak with the people that have appeared to me about it. I don't like to freak people out, and I don't like to feel that that I know something that they don't, because it's not like that. It's like the highest consciousness comes in and you know, you speak about whatever you need to speak about. So yeah, I often don't validate that by speaking to the people that do connect with me. Maybe that'll change. I don't know. But yeah, I very much keep that to myself. I've never been entirely certain whether I should share it or not, because I'm not seeking anyone. I'm not going out to connect with anyone. I am just purely opening myself up for whoever needs to connect with me to come in and connect. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. That happens for me sometimes too, you know. Yeah, I feel if you're meant to say something, you know, in person, then you will.
Yeah. And I think there have been times in conversation with friends where it's just sort of like, oh, you know,
yeah,
I had this or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Have you had any visitations?
Yeah, there's one that sticks in mind, and I reckon it was 18 months, maybe 2 years ago, and I was in session with myself, and it was my right ovary, it was my right hip, and I had these beings come in and perform like an etheric surgery on me, and I got the real impression that it was experimental. It's like we don't know if this is going to be enough or if it's going to work. But they came in and performed this like etheric surgery on like my abdomen. It was on my abdomen. It's a bit sketchy now. It was a long time ago. And when I'm in process, when I come back, I often don't remember a lot of detail. But this I did. This I remembered. So that was quite significant to me. And yeah, I got the real sense that they were from, you know, outside of this solar system. But we're very much connected. Whether, you know, I don't know. I don't want to build a story around it. I just want to keep it to what it was. But yeah, it was really important, and I know it you know, really bolstered my spirits for a long time afterwards. I don't know. I can't really elaborate any more than that, but it was a big experience.
Wow. Yeah. So do you get downloads?
I don't call them downloads.
What do you call them?
I don't know. I have wisdom flow through me. I have information flow through me. And quite often it literally does flow through me. It's like I don't retain it. I don't hold on to it. I don't keep it. It flows through me and then goes wherever it needs to go. So I would call that a download. I guess essentially that's what a download is. But I don't always feel it's for me to hold on to or to share or anything like that. It's literally I open myself up and things flow through me. And I guess whatever needs to integrate out of that integrates into my being. And I possibly do draw on that wisdom or resource at other times. But it's never, boom, here's this information, you've got to go out and share it. That's not what I get. It just flows through. I could say that. I've said that like 500 times now.
No. Have you ever experienced the Mandela effect? Or, yeah.
What do you mean by the Mandela effect?
Okay,
what exactly is that?
Like, some people have certain memories, like, of something being a certain way, like collective memories. Like, there was this children's book called Berenstain Bears, and that's one of the main ones, and now, like, it's actually Berenstain Bears, and a lot of people remember it with the E instead of the A, and then there's, like, different things like that where you might remember it one way, but it's actually another way.
Yeah. Bragg's apple cider vinegar.
Yeah, I saw that one too, and I was like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah,
I remember it.
So that was one of them, and I went to my jar in the cupboard, and I'm sort of like, oh wow, I'm sure it was Bragg's,
and it's just Bragg, right?
yeah, and I was convinced. So yeah, I guess I have. I can't really think of any other situations that. I can't recall.
Like, what about it? Have you ever remembered something being a certain way, and then, like, somebody else will be like, you'll mention it, and they'll be like, oh, well, they kind of are like, oh, that never happened or something. Has that ever happened to you?
Oh, yeah, it happens with my mother all the time.
Oh, yeah. Same with my grandma.
Yeah. Yeah, being a telepathic communicator, I think I get this all the time where I might think a conversation, or I might be in session with myself and have a conversation etherically, and I can be a little surprised that, like, for example, my husband, that he doesn't remember the conversation.
Yeah.
I get a couple of those things. I don't know whether that's what you're referring to. Yeah, I'm trying to think where there's been something more tangible. Yeah, no, I can't think of anything. Yeah.
So do you have any other extraterrestrial experiences or interterrestrial experiences?
Not really, no. Oh, yeah. Again, it just seems so normal.
Yeah.
And because I don't really speak about the experiences that I have within myself in that respect, but I know I do have them. But I'm whether I translate that into my higher self or yeah, I don't know. Like that etheric surgery story I told you about, that's probably the most prolific one that I've had. Other than that, I haven't had any real experiences like that I can remember. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all of the paranormal questions. And now we're going to go into the session questions.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get all the answers to your questions today, how will your life look different whenever you leave here?
I think there'll be a lot more trust in myself.
Yeah.
Because that's something I've struggled with, is actually trusting myself and my own guidance, and when to act on it and when not to. So that's something I'd like to gain more clarity and walk out with a knowing sense.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What does the life that you dream about look like?
I think I'm halfway there. Yeah. And honestly, it is just a life of deep connection. I don't want trivial surface little things anymore. I know I can sometimes get caught up in drama. I do have a dramatic flair. And sometimes it probably gets, yeah. But yeah, I guess really for me, I want to have deep connections, and I want to connect with people deeply. The surface superficial stuff has no interest for me. And yeah, I don't know if that answers the question.
It does, yeah. So what are your session expectations?
I guess the only expectations I have is of myself, and that's to be completely open and transparent and authentic and free, and just to hear the information and the answers to the questions that I've asked coming through in my own voice. Because quite often, I was trying to explain this to a friend yesterday, when because I observe a lot, and I'm very much an observer. And so I will observe other people, and then the traits that I find I want to build within myself, I will take models and mirrors out there in the external world. And so when I do that, quite often I will hear their voice. So say someone's taught me a process. When I'm doing the process on myself, I will hear it in their voice. Now I want to make that my voice. I don't want, and the trouble I've had is I don't want to take other people's work and make it my own. I want to take their teaching and expand on their teaching within myself. I don't know if that makes sense. That just all came out really weird, I think.
No, that does make sense. So
yeah, for a long time, I didn't hear my own higher self in my own voice. It was in a different voice. This, angelic, ethereal sort of voice. But now I'm hearing my higher self in my own voice. And so, yeah, I want more of that. I guess internally, I only want to hear my own voice.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It does good.
Yeah.
Because I think I just confused myself. Yeah. And I guess that's also relates back to, I want to trust in myself. I want to trust my own guidance.
So, have you formed an opinion on what will happen today?
No, not really an opinion. No. 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 And I have no reservation either. It's like wherever we need to go, I'm open to going there.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I feel. It's just like let go of what we feel is going to happen or any expectations and just let it flow. And see
Yeah.
where we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the end of the questions. Do you need to use the restroom?
No, but I probably should, because we could be a while, couldn't we?
Yeah, we're going to do some imagination exercises first, but I have to go to the restroom a little bit if you don't mind. Just
Yeah.
take a
Okay.
minute.
Let's take a quick break. Yeah.
Okay, cool. See you in a few.
Yep. All right.
Okay. So, yeah, we might, I mean, during Beyond Quantum Healing sessions, sometimes we might use the restroom more than normal just because we're talking about a lot of stuff and it's like, you know, the release, especially since we're going to be working with water alchemy, we might have to release. So we'll just go with the flow, and like even if we're in the middle of the session, then if you need to go to the bathroom, like everything will be perfect and you can go right back into where we left off. And it'll be perfect.
All right.
So I just dropped it. Sorry. Okay. Here we go. We're going to get started on the imagination exercises. So the imagination exercises are pretty cool because this is like the language of the higher self is the imagination. So some people have learned to distrust their imagination, and so this is just a way to access and, you know, kind of see like how you might receive information during the session and explore a little bit before we get started.
Yeah.
So the first exercise is a limit. It's called the limit exercise. So if you want, you can close your eyes or you can leave them open. But just imagine. Okay. So did you have a physical reaction to that exercise?
Yeah.
What was it like for you?
It was the sourness of the lemon. But yeah, very much feeling the texture of the skin and the bumps. And then, yeah, the juice of the lemon in my mouth.
Yeah.
And yeah, my saliva instantly started swirling around. Yeah.
Most people have a physical reaction to that exercise. So now we're going to do one called the front door in the closet exercise.
Okay.
So you can leave your eyes open and close. Yeah. There's going to be a surprise inside for you to find. Okay. What surprise did you find?
It's an egg.
An egg?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big egg though. It's not a little egg. It's yeah, quite big.
What color is it?
It's like a blue speckle. Oh, there's little bits of red in it too. So it's mainly blue with red speckles.
Leilani, can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
It cut out for a second.
Oh, sorry.
So it's a big blue egg with red speckles, you said?
Yep.
So the answer for this one is often useful information for you or for the client. So then we're going to go into the next exercise now. And do you have a favorite color of bird?
Favorite color
Of
of
bird.
bird? Of
Mhm.
bird. Whew. I do like green birds.
Cool. Okay, so imagine. So, did you actually visualize the bird, or did you imagine it, or did you just know which details to respond?
I just knew.
Cool.
But yeah, I saw it. Like I saw it before my eyes. Yeah.
So, this one shows about like how information will typically come to you during your session.
Mm-hmm.
That bird sounds really cute too.
Yeah, it was when the hat went on. I was just sort of like, you're a dude.
Okay, so we have a couple more exercises. Okay, so you can go ahead and close your eyes again, and let's pretend like, what is it?
It's an alpaca.
Aw. Aw.
It's brown. A chocolate brown.
Awesome. So it can be, but it's not always descriptive of the client themselves. Do you feel a connection with the alpaca, or?
Well, I think I kind of cheated. There's a property down the road that has alpacas.
Oh yeah.
And just the chocolate brown one, it's my favorite one. It's so fluffy, and it's just such a beautiful colored brown. And as soon as you said a farm, the alpaca just came straight into my field. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so this is the last exercise.
Mm-hmm.
So, imagine
Mm-hmm.
and what's inside.
It's a book.
Is there anything on the book?
Yeah, the book's got words on the cover, and it's all the things you wanted to know but were afraid to ask. Oh, no secrets here, really.
Awesome. I love that. Okay, so those are all the imagination exercises. Do you have a glass of water with you?
Yeah, I've got a couple of them dotted around the place.
Do you have one that's filled up?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So did you want to go to the restroom again before we get started, or are you ready?
Mm-mm. I'm good. I'm good to go.
Perfect.
All right.
So first we're going to... Oh, do you want to go somewhere to get more comfortable and lay down?
Yeah, that's what I was doing. Hang on, I've just got to readjust a little.
Okay.
All right. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so first you're going to want to go ahead and get your glass of water too.
Okay. To create a sustainable harmonic frequency
Of peace and love
of peace and love
throughout myself
throughout myself
and the collective.
and the collective.
You already finished your glass of water?
I'm finished, yeah.
Oh, well, you're a lot more fast at drinking than I am. I'll let you know.
Too many drinking games.